Welcome to It Begins With Us, the podcast about domestic violence abuse. It is our mission to help anyone in a domestic violence situation. We started this podcast
as a safe space for survivors to tell their stories.
Completely confidential.
We can disguise your voice.
You can be off camera, and we're here to listen. Let's get started.
So welcome back. This is episode 2 of It Begins With Us. And I'm Angelica, and we've got Maria.
And Sisha.
And we have our special guest, Sydnee Flores, with us today. She's going to be talking to us about a little bit of her story and a little bit of her background, as well as talking to us about this beautiful event that we're going to be attending on Friday.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fun.
Thanks, guys. We're really, really excited. It's October 11th from 6 to 10, so I'm really excited to see you guys there.
I'm excited to be there.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
So I was a victim of domestic violence for a lot of years. I met him in first grade, and he was always super nice until 5th grade, and then he started getting into drugs really bad and the wrong side of the law. And I just kept holding on to like that little kid, I really think. And then, well, it wasn't his fault because he had a bad childhood, and it wasn't his fault because whatever it was. And so I just made excuses for a really long time. And then in 7th grade, he punched me in the stomach and he knocked the wind out of me. And I remember lying for him then. And so from there, it just escalated. And we were really, really off and on again because he liked drugs and bad things. So he was in and out, and he'd get out and I'd get hit again or whatever it was, and then he'd go away. And I don't know if it was just him being gone and like being so nice to me because he was gone that like when he got out, it was like, oh, he's better. Or if it was like, hey, you know what? I can really understand. I got in trouble. I learned my lesson. And I'm going to change. Like, that makes sense to me. But that wasn't the case. So he was released in 2022. And so this go around, we were only together for 6 months before it got super, super bad. He was in my phone. Like, every single day he had my phone, and he'd sit there for hours and hours and just scroll through everything. And then there was stuff that I'm like, from 2007, I'm like, that was just in my cloud. I don't even think we had a cloud in 2007. I don't know why. Okay. And so that would cause fights. And then if he didn't have my Life 360 and my Google location and my Snapchat location and all of it, it would just get World War VII. And then the worst thing that he did, and that's one of the things, like you were saying, Angelica, like in the post that I made the other day about how it wasn't that bad. My really, really, really just annoying justification was, I'm like, well, he's only punched me in the face once. So he's only hit me once.
Yeah, I feel all of that. Just the invasion of privacy, the constant, like, looking through my stuff. Like, I feel that. Have you guys?
I actually, with my two relationships, one was physically abusive, the other one wasn't. I never had that invasion of privacy because I always knew where I was at. I was very they're both very controlling, and so they always knew where I was at and what I was doing. My second relationship was, he would drive by my work, and there was one time they were fixing the parking lot, and I remember this really clearly because one of his family members was there next to me, and they never believed like all the stuff that he would do to me, or like I never really talked to them about it because I knew they weren't going to care or believe me. And he drove past, and they were redoing the parking lot, so they had us move outside. And I said, oh, look, there's your cousin. And 2 seconds later, my phone's ringing, and I was like, hey, what's up? And he's like, I just drove by your work. Where are you? Why aren't you at work? Did you already pick up the kids? And I said, no, I'm at work. I saw you. I just literally saw you right now. And he's like, no, you didn't. I just drove by there and you're not at work. And I said, I was across the street. Did you not see they have like cones and you can't go in the parking lot? And he's like, well, you still have to pick up the kids. And I don't believe that you're at work. But, and then there was a couple other times, like, he even used the kids and would go to events where I was at. But, like, he wasn't tech savvy, so he didn't know how to use location, any of that. He never looked, that I know, he didn't look through my phone. I never looked through his. In my first relationship, abusive relationship, I was the one that was always going through his phone because after finding out he was cheating on me for 2 years and all of the craziness, like I was just so insecure, and I was the one, doing all of that. He never went through my phone because my phone didn't have like any of social media or anything on it. It was back in 2009, I think. Yeah, 2009, when like internet came on your phone and stuff like that. So yeah, but I also read your message on the page, Stop the Silence. And I related so much to it. It's crazy how it's been 14 years since I left. And it still hits me now. Like, I feel like for many years I kind of blocked it out and I didn't let it affect me for a while. But lately, I mean, talking about this and joining 1614, I feel like it's like resurfaced my life. And I've made it part of my life again, just because I don't want my kids growing up thinking that's okay. And like, I like to talk to them about it. They're getting old enough, here in a few years, they're going to start dating. And I want them to know, like, this isn't okay. Because, like, you and I and Angelica, we told ourselves, like, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. Like, they'll get better, or it's not going to happen again. And no, like, there's no reason why we should have gone through that. Like, I have friends in healthy relationships that they're like, he hit you one time? Like, I've been in this relationship for 20 years and I've never, Yeah. And I thought, like, one time, like, was not that bad. There was red flags that, before I even moved in with him. He punched me. I believe it was in the shoulder, and, like, I fell down onto the couch because he punched me so hard. Because I walked past the TV, and he was on his Xbox with my brothers. It was before I moved in with him, and he blamed me for losing his game because I walked in front of the TV. And he lost his game, and he said it was my fault. You should have known that you weren't supposed to walk in front of the TV. And I had been abused physically by my parents my whole life. So my mom would always say, like, it's your fault. If you wouldn't have misbehaved, you wouldn't have got hit. So when he did it to me, like, it wasn't any different, Yeah. Other than, like, when I moved in with him and he was my spouse, then my mom and dad never had any physical abuse. So they taught me that, like, to be loyal and to not be physically abusive. So to me, like, suffering that, I dated him for 1.5 years before I moved in with him. And then I was with him for a whole year. I left May 13th of 2010. Like, I always remember that date. It was right before my birthday. And I was able to get a restraining order against him. And we had court on my birthday, on my 19th birthday, to get it adjusted so it would be a whole year. And thankfully, the judge believed me. He saw the bruises and everything, and he extended it for a year. And he was there, and they saw, like, how aggressive he got. He asked, like, you really are going to extend this? And the judge said, yes, you're a statistic. Like, once you abuse one time, you're going to do it again. And he said, so I'm just a statistic to you, sir? And he said, yes. And he walked out of there angry and slammed the door. And everybody just, like, in silence. And they knew they had to take care of me from that day forward. They didn't even need to see anything, from his actions that day. And he said, it's my wife's birthday today, and I can't even give her a hug. I can't give her the flowers I have outside for her. And the judge said, nope.
I'm only laughing because I'm not laughing, but like when I listen
Mm-hmm.
to every single story that I've heard from ever since I started with this ball, I talk to all these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody says something and it is the same thing. Like
Yeah,
there is
the same
nothing
plot,
special about
right?
there's nothing like everything you just said, I can picture my ex's face because it's the exact same thing.
Yeah,
Just it's so I have to
predictable.
laugh. Yeah, I have to
Yeah,
laugh about it because it's seriously like, dude, I really thought that the sun rose because of you. Like I
right.
genuinely believed that I couldn't live without you, and
Yeah,
that's embarrassing. So it's funny
yeah,
because they're not special. It's all the same thing. They talk the same. They act the same. They do. It's like they get a playbook.
yeah, yeah. And this is what we need to do, like us talking about it, and having our story out there is for other people to hear so that they see the red flags before they become involved, in it. I know love is such a strong word, but we can walk away. Like our mind has to be, our logic has to be stronger than our hearts. I've argued about like that your heart, you have to follow your heart, but you know what, your mind tells you when you need to walk away, whether you like it or not. It's You got to be stronger than that, because I know that if I would have stayed a few more months, I wouldn't be here today. And I have 3 beautiful children, a successful business, my own home. I'm a part of the community that people look up to, and I wouldn't be here doing all of that in the last 14 years if I hadn't walked away.
You're so cool, dude.
Thank you.
You're so cool. It's awesome to hear other people like doing better, and then like it's you've got 14 years, I've got 2 years, and it's
Hmm.
just the progression and how much when you actually like talk and work through things, just seeing like what's because here's my other thing too is I'm like I think survivors of domestic violence, people that get into domestic violence, they're like I guess willpower, they're the power of their brain, because seriously like to convince yourself that it is okay, like for me, I'm like to convince myself that it was okay to get locked in a trunk, like it was so okay that I got out of the trunk and made him a sandwich. My brain power is insane, but if I used it for something other than making what he did okay, like it's just it's really cool to see what we're capable of, and I hope that this ball and like everything you guys are doing, like your guys is everything that you're setting up is so special, and I just hope like being able to collaborate with more people. And that's the other thing too is I've got to meet more resources, more people that want to help, because they see how big of a problem it is in our community, not just Blackfoot, Idaho Falls, like seriously all of eastern Idaho.
Yeah.
It's an issue,
Yeah.
and seeing the collaboration and what we can do, like my goal for this ball is like to have you guys, to have Idaho Falls, to have Pocatello, to have everybody, and just have it be a big collaboration of support, because for me it was very I was isolated. I'm
Yeah.
like I'm assuming it was the same for you guys, because for me
Yes.
he was like, dude, your friends are trash, your friends this, your mom this, your dad, like they don't care, blah 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 blah. And then he would find like little instances where it was like um oh, my mom forgot to do something, and then he would fuel it
Hmm.
like, well, that's why she didn't do it. I told you that she didn't care about you. You know I'm the only one that does anything for you, blah, 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 blah. And he would just fuel it and fuel it. And so it was really, really um, isolating, and it made me very, very dependent on him. So I hope setting up some type of community with everything that we're doing um, just shows people like, dude, maybe you might not have your mom, brother, whatever you think, but all these people
There's people
are
that care.
willing to help you.
There's a
Yep.
lot
Yeah.
of people out there.
Yeah. I like you said, you know, that he would feel stuff like that with your family, so that way you felt like he was the only person you had. That's the same story with me, and I think Angelica can also relate to that. Um, they
They're good
they
at
thrive.
They have
manipulating.
a
Yeah,
playbook. I'm telling
yeah, they
you, they
thrive
get a
on that.
playbook.
But
Yep.
it's crazy though, because you're so right though, Sydney. Like they're all super similar. A lot of their narcissism is so similar that it's disgusting. Like now that we're free from it, like you look back and you're like, why did I think that that was okay for him to talk to me like that, and to, you know, put it in our heads that they're the only ones that matter, and that nobody else in our family like matters, nobody cares about us. Like it's so big.
The
Like,
sad
I
thing
went
though
years,
is
yeah.
that we do believe it. I know I had absolutely no support. Um, I'm really glad. I think the difference with like me and you know, your mom, and her talking about it, like I'm happy for you that you have that support. I unfortunately didn't have any support at all. I don't know how I walked away, to be honest. I had absolutely nobody. He isolated me from everybody. The day I moved out of my parents, it wasn't on good terms. It was 2 days after I turned 18 years old. I ran away a lot of times during my teenage years because my parents and I didn't get along. There was a lot of abuse, physically and mentally. So I would run away and get away, and that's when I met him. I met him during the time when I was a runaway. He kept a relationship with me and met my parents, and he was my superhero. He's the one that would save me every single time that my parents abused me. Every time they treated me bad, he was there to hold me. He was there to save me. Um, they they were so bad. Like there was one time I had a toothache and it got horrible where there was a hole in my tooth and they wouldn't take me to the dentist. And he went and said, if you guys don't take her in and get her taken care of, I will call CPS and get you in trouble for not taking care of her health. You know, I would have like stomach aches and my mom wouldn't care. I would like be in my period and had really horrible periods, and he would bring me tea. He would bring me medicine. He would bring me Tylenol, anything to take care of me. He was always my superhero. And my parents didn't care. They really didn't care about me. I don't have a relationship with them now. And when I left, they wanted nothing to do with me. They told me because I didn't get married when I left that they wanted nothing to do with me. So I saw that he saw that as an opportunity to abuse me and keep me to himself. He would say, he would hurt me and say, well, nobody loves you, not even your parents. Not even your parents want you. What makes you think anybody else would love you? I'm the only one that loves you. And yeah, that kept me, you know, there for a whole year. I'm surprised, like, I didn't stay longer. And I saved up enough money. And in a month, I was out of there. I had my own place. It was the scariest thing ever to live alone. But I was thankful too for the community in American Falls. Like every officer in town knew me. They knew what I was going through, and they drive by my house. They'd call me once in a while. Hey, like we see a car at your house, like, or you're not home. Like, is everything okay? They'd always check up on me. Then that's honestly like the greatest, like yeah, the greatest feeling, and to know somebody cares for you. So.
Well, just so you know, I think you're super, super strong because if I didn't have my mom and my dad and the support system that I had, I wouldn't have left. So I think you're incredible because I know for a fact I wouldn't have left. So you're incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, I still question myself, like, well, how did I do it? You know, I still don't know how I did it, but there's something
I
inside of
think,
me.
yeah, I'm like, here's my thing, and I'm so convinced no one will ever tell me otherwise, but I think there's a moment where God's like, okay, dude, you learned.
Yeah.
You learned this time, and we're done.
Yeah.
Because for me, seriously, it was, and I didn't know that that's what it was, but I remember that morning because he'd gotten in a whole bunch of trouble. He had messed up and he was on parole, so he had messed up his parole, and they gave him like a lot of chances. I didn't know about everything that he was doing. But the Friday before I kicked him out, they're like, hey, you have to come in. We're going to talk about this, blah, 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 blah. And the parole lady was like, you have to come in. Sydnee, you need to come. And I'm like, okay, why do I have to go? Whatever. So then I go and she's like, okay, so you failed 90 ways. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, so he failed 90 ways. He was doing meth the whole time. And I'm like, okay, so that's why you've been crazy. That's why I'm getting hit again. All right, good times. So all of that happened in that morning, or no, that day after we left his thing. I was like, dude, if you do not go to work, because that's the other thing too, is you're like, he drove around my house, he did this. I'm like, he had my car, he had my bank accounts, he had everything, and he wasn't doing anything. I was working, I was doing everything, but he had complete financial, like emotional, every type of abuse that is on the
Control.
list
Yeah.
is on the list. I went through it and he had it, and it made no sense. Because I'm like, dude, you're not working. How come why don't I have a car? Why are you driving me to work every day? How come you dropped me off at work and took my car? What do you mean I'm not at work?
Yeah.
Like, where am I gonna go?
Yeah.
You have my car. And just all of that stuff. So that morning I was like, dude, you need to go to work. Or that Friday, I was like, if you do not go to work, I don't care. Like, you're literally serving no purpose. And the whole entire reason that I felt so guilty and so horrible is because you told me that it was that I'm selfish and I'm ungrateful and I'm so inconsiderate because you changed your whole life for me and you stopped doing drugs and you stopped doing this because you love me so much. But well, come to find out, you've been getting high every single day because this lady just said that stuff only stays in your system for 3 days. So if you've peed dirty for every UA, that means that you've never been sober.
Right.
So basically, you're useless to me. You're nothing whatever. So I'm like, if you don't go to work on Monday, get out. I don't care. So it's 4 a.m. and I'm waking him up and he's yelling at me and I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. So 6 a.m. rolls around and I'm like, I'm going to get ready for work. I get ready and I'm going, and I never touched his phone. The whole entire time, I never touched his phone, not once. And if I did take his phone, it was World War VII. And he always had to have my phone. If I didn't give him my phone, like as soon as he asked for it, World War VII. So he left his phone open and it was unlocked and it was open and right on the messages. And I was going through and I'm like, huh. Interesting. And I found the things and I found a lot of stuff and I'm like, okay, cool. So I start packing up and I'm going through his stuff and we got this car. He wanted this car. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever, we'll get it. And then maybe you'll be nice to me. Like, you'll quit complaining because you have to drive my car and you hate my car and it's so ghetto and whatever. And I'm like, my car is not that ghetto. But he wanted this new car. And I'm like, cool, dude, I don't care. We fought about it for a week and I was like, okay, get it, whatever. So I wasn't allowed to drive the car, but he posted on Instagram how he bought me this car for my birthday and blah, 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 blah. And he made it seem like I made the post. And it was like, thank you, baby. This is the best birthday present. I love you. Yeah, I don't know how I got so lucky. And I'm like, I'm the one that paid for that car. I'm the one that put the money down for it. Well, okay.
That's funny. I almost got to that point of buying him a car, and that's when I left.
Okay. I didn't want to. I was just really tired. I'm like, bro, if you'll stop fighting with me and I don't have to hear about this damn car, I don't care. I really don't care. I don't. Not at all. And yeah, so I found the keys in his backpack and he had lied to me about it. Like, he said he lost it. I was like, where's the key? Because I need to use the car. And he's like, I lost it. I don't have it. And I'm like, okay, well, give me your key. And he's like, well, no, because you should have taken care of that spare key. That was supposed to be yours. And I'm like, you just said you lost it, but okay, whatever. So there was only one car key forever. And I found it in his backpack. And I don't know why that pissed me off so bad, but I was like, okay, this is it. I'm raging. So I woke up and I woke him up and I I shouldn't have woke him up the way I woke him up. I didn't hit him, but I was being very, very, very aggressive. I'm like, and I swore and a lot of things. And so he wakes up and he's mad. Like, why would you talk to me like that? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what? You lied about everything. Like, get up. I'm done. Get out. I don't want anything to do with you. I really don't care. I'm leaving for work. Your shit needs to be out of my house by the time I get home. And I'm telling my mom that you need to have your shit out of the house by the time I get home. And so he starts pushing me around my room. And he's like throwing stuff, and he takes my purse, he takes my phone, he takes everything, he takes all my stuff, and he's like screaming at me, and he's like, you're not gonna leave me, blah 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 blah. And then he's like, do you think I care, you stupid bitch? Like, I can find anybody, yada yada yada. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And he didn't hit me that morning, but he pushed me into my makeup chair. And when he ripped my glasses off my face, and he twisted them, and they were, have you heard of Ovos?
Mm-mm.
No.
So they're like this fancy glasses brand. Like, they're not supposed to break. They, people have run them over with tractors. When I worked at the glasses place, people would come in and been like, hey, I ran it over with the tractor. Can you pop my lenses back in? And I'm like, okay, yeah. So they're pretty much like, you're not supposed to break them.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't get them to break because they like bend and flop. So he twisted them, and there was a picture on Facebook, I think, of it.
Yeah.
And they like popped out and stuff, and he started laughing. And there was something about the way he looked at me, and it was when it was exactly like the time he punched me in the face, because that day he drove me around. He wouldn't let me out of the car after he punched me out, and he was driving around. I remember he was driving around for a couple hours, and he's like, I'm gonna, like, you think you're gonna get out of this car, you stupid? And he was being crazy, and he's like, basically was like threatening my life for probably a couple hours, and I was like crying, and it was terrible. And he was driving all through Fort Hall through the back roads, and he went through this, like, so there's the back roads, right? And then there was like a little off extra super back road.
Mm-hmm.
And he drove through that, and it was like terrain that you should have a four-wheel for. And he's going through it in my car, and he's just screaming at me. And he's like, no one's gonna find you out here, and yada yada yada. And it was the weirdest thing, because as soon as we got out there, he completely switched. Like, he was so nice to me. He was, I'm so sorry. Boof. It was the weirdest thing.
It's like
But
the devil gets
They
into
go
them.
from night to light.
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it was the weirdest thing, because for
Wild.
2 hours it was like screaming, like,
Mhm.
but like the Tasmanian devil is all I
Yeah.
can think of, because he was just like freaking out. And then we got out there, and we're out there, and he just completely switched. And it was, I'm so sorry, and you're my everything, and I would never like do anything to you. And I was just and it was like, it gives me chills just even,
Right.
because it was so weird. But that morning when I left, he looked at me that same way, and I was like, if I don't leave right now this time, I think he will definitely do it.
I was really quiet about when I left. The last 3 days before I left, I just gathered like all my emotions and everything, and I said, I'm gonna pretend like everything's okay until I'm ready to leave. I didn't know how I was gonna leave. I didn't know where I was gonna go, who I was gonna tell. But that same story you just told, I had that the second to last time where he hit me. It was the same thing. Literally, he picked me up from work. He had been cheating on me for months and months since I moved in. Before I even moved in, he had been cheating on me. I found out a couple months after I moved in that he was cheating on me. And that's actually why we got married, because he hit me one time because I was so angry at him because he had cheated on me. And after like the third time of finding out, he said, I'm not married to you. I don't have to be faithful to you. And when I said, okay, well, then I don't know what I'm doing here. I got to go. And I didn't have nowhere to go, but I wanted him to believe that I was leaving. So he got on his knees and was just begging me, bawling to marry him. So I agreed to marry him. I thought that would change. You know, I'm like, okay, if this is his belief that he has to be married to me in order for him not to be cheating on me, then I'll marry him. We got married at the courthouse. 2 days later, I found out he's still cheating. He's still looking at porn. He's still going through all these. Like, he had a fake MySpace account, and he was talking to other girls. I was the only one working. He didn't work at all, and I was making the money. He would take all the money away. I wasn't allowed to spend any of it. And he one day, like, after all the cheating, you know, and I'm like, I'm gonna leave. He said, what if the MySpace account, like, we make it a joined MySpace account. You have the password. Like, please forgive me. You're the only one that'll have the password. If I need to get on it, you can, like, put the password in for me, and you can watch me be on it if I ever need to get on it. And I said, okay. So I did. We ended up making a joint MySpace account. I had the password. He didn't have the password. He didn't notice for a few days. And then when I was at work one night, it was pretty late. I think I was getting off like at 9 o'clock at night. I had worked a double shift. And he texts me. He's like, hey, what school did you go to when you were in elementary? And I thought, that's the weirdest question ever. Like, so I pretended that I didn't see the message. And I waited for him to pick me up. And he picks me up. He's like, hey, we're going to go on a drive. And I just got, like, my stomach just sank. I had, like, the worst feeling ever. It was raining. It was dark. And it was, I think it was in April. So yeah, it was raining a lot. And we went to Indian Springs. So we lived in American Falls. He drove me up to this really pretty place we had driven before. And we just drove, and he was quiet the whole time. And I was like, oh no, like, I'm not coming back. Like, this is my last day. Like, I just knew I was going to die that day. And he's being so calm, which is not normal of him. And finally we get up there, and he's like, what's the password, you stupid bitch? And like, what are you talking about? You changed the password on our Facebook or on our MySpace because you're cheating on me, aren't you? I said, no, like, you told me I could change it and I could give it to you. Well, give it to me now. And I said, no, I'm not going to give it to you. When we get there to your computer, I'll put it in there, and you can get on whenever you want, but you're not getting on alone. You're going to give it to me now. Like, you're going to give it to me. And we start driving off, and he grabbed my head and smashed it against the window like 6 times, to the point where I just saw stars and I almost passed out. And after he did that, the next thing he says, see what you made me do? And then he punches the windshield from the inside while he's driving, and it just shattered. Like, the glass didn't break, but it was just all, like, it looked like a spider web. We could hardly see when he was driving, especially because it was raining at the same time. And it wasn't even his vehicle. He was in his mom's truck. And so we drove back, and he's screaming at me, see what you made me do? Like, it's all your fault. You're the reason that, like, I wouldn't have hit you if you wouldn't be talking back to me. I mean, you wouldn't you wouldn't have changed the password without telling me. And then we get there, and I'm so scared at the point. Like, I didn't want to go anywhere with him. And he says, get out of the truck. And I said, no, I'm not going nowhere. And so he opens my door, and he grabbed me by my neck, and he pulled me out. And as he pulled me out, I went up too far, and I hit the top of the truck, and it made me black out. I passed out on the seat. And I knew, like, I didn't know what was going on anymore. The next thing I know, he was dragging me down the sidewalk at his house, through the grass, in the rain, in the mud. And he was screaming at me. And that's when I woke up, and his mom comes out, because we lived with them. And she was like, what's going on, David? And screaming at him. And so he lets me go, and I get up, and she grabs me, like, and she starts hugging me. Are you okay? Like, what's going on? And she says, you're so stupid. Like, your dad's upstairs showering. He's going to hear you. He's going to beat your ass. Why are you guys fighting now? And So she made us go upstairs and talk about it. And but yeah, like your story is like so relatable to me, you know, like just them taking us out to the middle of nowhere, and from going from so sweet all of a sudden to crazy. I mean, yours was opposite. He was crazy and then sweet. But yeah, like all these memories come back, and I'm just like, I can't believe like I'm here.
It's crazy because, yeah, you're right. The more we talk about it and the more we hear other people's stories, all these other, I don't want to say memories because they're not, but they're like haunting.
Yeah.
Because I kind of relate to that too, but I was like 8 months pregnant with my oldest when that happened to me too.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where like I ended up crashing our Civic because he had punched me so hard in the neck that my neck started twitching really bad. And then because like I couldn't like, my neck was twitching, like I couldn't control the car, and we ended up going on the sidewalk and all this stuff, and these people come running out and they're like, what's going on, and he was like, she's just having contractions and like blah blah blah. Yeah, it was just, it's embarrassing. It's, you don't know why they are the way that they are, but then, you know, you blame yourself a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought, you know, I shouldn't have changed the password. It was my fault. And, you know, his mom, like, got mad at him. It was like, you're going to, he tells, I broke the window. And he's like, you're so stupid, David. Like, you're going to have to go get a job. Like, she's not going to pay for it. And she doesn't have to pay for it. She works really hard, and I'm going to make you pay for it. You're going to get a job tomorrow. And, his dad never found out about it, but it really broke my heart because his mom was more of a mom to me than my own mom. The first time that he ever abused me, like hit me physically at her house, and she saved me from him. She told me, she said, he's a dog and he doesn't deserve you. I'm just sad I'm going to lose my daughter. Because she had 3 sons. She didn't have any girls. And she always wanted a daughter. And me not having my mom, like, you know, support from my mom, I loved her. I really did. Like, she was a mom to me. She would call me daughter. She would tell everybody I was her daughter. And that next morning, he's telling her, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. She doesn't love me. She hates me. She's going to leave me any second. She's going to leave me. And of course, that's her son. Like, she's going to defend him no matter what, even though she sees that it's wrong. She took me, you know, like, if it wasn't for her, the few times that she was there, I wouldn't be here right now. She saved my life more than once. And she said, well, we have to go get that window fixed before your dad finds out, because you're going to get it if we don't fix that window. And he's like, well, I don't have any money. It's like, well, we'll just pay out of the account, out of you guys' joint account. And I was so, like, dead set where she defended me the night before. Like, you don't have to pay for this, Flor. Like, it's not your fault that he hit you. It's not okay he treated you this way. He has to be a man and be responsible. So her defending me and being on my side the night before, like, I was like, I'm not going to pay for it. And then she goes upstairs, no, we're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. And then he can get a job and pay for it later. She was, you know, like, I don't know, she came to terms with, oh, I'm going to be in trouble too because I'm covering for my son at the same time. Like, I don't know if he was abusive to her, like her husband, but I know they were scared of him all the time. They would always keep secrets from him. And so I don't know if that was the case, why she needed to get the window fixed right away before he found out. So they wanted me to pay for it. We both had a card from the account. And she's like, get your face on, because I had really bad acne when I was 18 and I was embarrassed. I always had to have foundation on. And she said, get your face on and get ready. You're going with us. And I said, no, I'm not going. I was like, he has a card to the account. He can pay for it. And she's like, nope, you're going to go with us and you're going to pay for it with your own money and with your own card. And so I ended up, like, I had no choice. I lived with them. And so I ended up going. We went to Pocatello, got it replaced that same day. And then he ran away, like, from here. Like, he went to Mexico to go hide for a few years. When he came back and we had court, I remember telling the judge, he asked what I wanted, and I said, I want my $186.96. I want it back. And they made him give me a check for that amount. Like, that's the only thing I asked for when he came back. Because to me, it felt so like it was a pride thing. Like, he owed me that money because I didn't deserve to pay for that windshield that he broke because he hit me. Sorry. I get like,
No, are you okay?
I started to get like emotional. Like, I didn't remember like how hard it was to talk about these things, you know?
Yeah.
For years, like I said, I haven't really talked about it or thought about it. So it gets
Dealt with
super
it?
emotional. Yeah.
And it's weird though, because like the more you talk about it, it's kind of, as like you guys said, like the more stuff comes up, and not necessarily because you're like, oh, I'm just. That was, you know what, that was one of the hardest things, was like when I started talking about stuff and going to therapy, there was stuff that like I'm like, oh yeah, he did do that to me, and I was really convinced that I was making it up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I think I made that up. I don't think that happened. Like, I was so confused about the stuff that
That had happened.
really happened and the stuff
yeah.
the stuff that really happened and the stuff that didn't happen. Like, I did a podcast a while ago for the ball and stuff, and they asked me, so I don't even remember what the question was, but I was like, I had to make a list.
Yeah.
That was one of the things from therapy. They're like, I want you to make a list of 5 things that you would fight. Like, you know, this happened. He cannot convince you that it didn't happen. And
Yeah.
when the first session, I only had one thing. And now there's stuff, and I'm like, dude, I will fight you on all of this because I know this. I know this happened.
Yeah. I actually just sent a couple weeks ago a TikTok to Angelica that it was like after the abuse I went through, like, and I talk about it years later. Like, I asked myself, did it really happen? Is that really what happened? It's like our trauma, you know, our trauma response, like, telling us, like, you know, like, are we making it up? And I like, when you said, was it that bad? Like, that hit me so hard because I used to tell myself, like, it wasn't that bad. Like, I didn't even go through that much, you know? And I've talked to other friends, like, that they've been through it and they had all these bruises. Yeah. They had all these bruises, or they made them sleep, you know, on the floor. Like, I mean, he made me sleep for a couple hours on the floor with a sock in my mouth one time because he hit me so hard and I was crying, and he threw me on the floor because he didn't want to hear me crying. And he put a sock in my mouth, one of his dirty socks.
Oh my gosh, that makes my heart sick for you, lady.
Yeah. There was, man, like, I'm like thinking now, like, gosh, I cannot believe, like, I thought it wasn't that bad. Like, I didn't think it was that bad. Just because other people have gone through worse, it doesn't mean my situation wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Like, he kicked me in the ribs one time really, like, hard because his abuse was mostly sexual abuse. He would make me have sex with him every day, multiple times. And I had cuts because he would rape me all the time. And since he's like, well, if you can't have sex with me vaginally, then you have to give me head. He'd make me do it multiple times a day. And there was one time, like, I was like, no, like, please stop. And he like with his hands, like, pried my mouth opened so I could do it. And I, as soon as he let go of his hands, I shut my mouth. My jaw just dropped and it bit the very tip. And that's when he kicked me in the ribs so hard off the bed. And then he, you know, was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Like, but it's your fault if you didn't have bitten me. And I didn't know what to do. Like, my ribs hurt for days, you know. And the very last time that he hit me really hard, that he abused me bad, was because we had gone to to the doctor several times because I couldn't have sex with him because I had all these cuts. It would burn. When I tell you it would burn, it was like when you have a cut and you pour alcohol. That's how it felt to have intercourse every single time. And I'm like, I don't know what it was, like if it was like the sweat or what, like. And so he would blame it on me, like my birth control, because he didn't want to have kids. He would say like that I was dry because of the birth control. So we went to the doctor and they took me off all the birth control that they had put me on. And they're like, you guys need to use condoms. They gave us a whole bunch and they would break. They're like the cheap ones. So we ended up going to the store, to the gas station, and we got some. And he had me turned around. I didn't know he refused to wear them. He took it off, and when he finished, the first thing he did was throw me off the bed. And he's like, you need to go to the bathroom and wash yourself. And I said, why? And like, I already knew by this time, like, I was leaving. I already had it planned in my head. Like, I have to leave. I have to get out. I need to run away. I don't know how, but I need to do it. And I was in shock because I already had the plans to leave in my head. And to think he just got me pregnant, I was going to be stuck with him for the rest of my life, whether I divorced him or not. I was like, God, why do you hate me so bad? Like, what did I do? You know, and I was raised Catholic, and like I heard stories like if you were in your past life, like if you were a bad person, like you're going to pay for it in your next life. And so I believe that 100%. Like, I did something so horrible in my past life that God is punishing me now. You know, like nothing that I can do good enough for me to like escape all this bad that's happening to me. So I was just like, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant now. I can't believe I'm going to be pregnant. Like, I'm going to leave him and I have to deal with him for the rest of my life. All I can think about is like these crazy stories that my friends went through with their exes, with their baby daddies, you know, and sharing custody. And I'm just like, I can't believe I have to go through that. Like, I didn't become a pregnant teen. Now I have to do it now. Like, I have to deal with this now. And I went to that bathroom and I like washed. I got in the bathtub and like made the water go inside me, and I would like make it come out. Please, like, don't be pregnant. And then I come back and he looks at me. How did you do it? How did you clean yourself? And I just looked at him and I wouldn't talk to him. I wouldn't say nothing to him. I was so angry. And he looked at me and he grabbed my face. How did you do it, you stupid bitch? Like, how did you clean yourself? And I still wouldn't say anything. So he, with his head, he just started butt-heading me in the head. Like, my head, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And all I could see stars. Everything was black and it was just stars. And then he threw me on the floor and he's like, if you're pregnant, I promise, like, I'm going to kill you and that baby. I'm going to throw you out in the street. I'm going to make sure, like, that you die. And that's the moment right there that I said, if he's willing to kill, like, his own flesh, what makes me think that he won't kill me? And then he, like, threw me back on the bed, and he's like, if you even think about telling on me ever, you're going to die. Like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to make sure that your parents get deported. I'm going to make sure you and your brothers, like, that you guys get separated. Your 2 little brothers are going to get put on this in the system because they're legal and you guys are not. He would always throw that in my face too because I was illegal. I was brought here when I was 9 years old and I didn't have papers. And so I thought, I'm like, you can do anything to me, but you can't do anything to my brothers. Like, you will not do anything to my brothers because I raised them. I'm the oldest. I'm the only daughter. And I raised my little brothers like my own. And so when he said that to me, like, I knew I had to leave. I think I stayed 2 or 3 days. The next day, like, I put on a show. I put on this show where I let him penetrate me as many times as he wanted. I said nothing. I kept quiet. I even pretended I enjoyed it. I made him food. I would clean up. I would just be like this submissive, quiet girl. Didn't talk back. Didn't act angry. Didn't act upset. I just complied with everything he wanted. I remember he drove me to work that day, and I said, okay. He said, have a good day, babe. And I said, all right, babe, love you, bye. And that was the last time. Like, he didn't think there was anything wrong, like, between us. Like, he thought everything was great because I was complying with everything he wanted. Yeah.
And I over here like trying really hard not to tear up, and I'm like, don't look at her.
Bro, I'm tearing up.
Yeah,
I'm
she's been through
crying.
a lot.
I'm crying. Oh my gosh, that makes me sick, dude.
Like stuff you would only like see in a Lifetime movie or something, right? Like,
Yeah, when he pushed,
crazy.
like when he threw me on the bed after he hit me with his head, when he butt-headed me, he actually used his hand, his whole hand, inside of me to try to take out whatever he could. And then that's when he threw me off the bed. And then after, and I was crying, and he threw me back on the bed, and he told me that I better not ever think about telling on him. That was another thing that I can't believe like somebody would do that, you know, to their whole hand inside of you. That painful. It was horrible.
I want to hug you so bad right now.
We'll hug her for you.
yeah.
Yeah, hug her for me, please. Oh my gosh, that makes my stomach sick. It's, you know what though, like I listened to your story and I'm like, I can almost guarantee though that as horrible as he was just as nice to you when he was nice.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Yeah.
He was
Just
great.
as horrible as he was, I can guarantee that he was just as nice. Because I think that's something that like people don't really, I guess, like understand or think of. Like it's not, because you always hear like, oh, he did this and oh, he did this
Right.
and all the bad stuff.
Mhm.
And I think that's where a lot of people are like, dude, well, if he's just
Yeah.
doing
Why did you stay?
the bad stuff, why did you stay?
Right.
And for me, like that's something that I've been like, I don't know, I guess like trying to talk about more is like the fact that he was the nicest boyfriend I've ever had, ever.
Yeah,
Ever.
they went above and beyond.
Yep, but he was beating me.
Yeah. Yeah, every
He was
time.
the nicest person in the world to me, and he went out of his way to pay attention to things, and he went out of his way to like try and learn and like. But now I know that the reason that he was doing that was because the more he could learn about me, the easier it was for him to figure out how to manipulate me.
Exactly. Yep.
So people get real confused and they're like, dude, he was hitting you, why didn't you just leave? And I'm like, well, because here's the thing is he was super nice to me too, so it really did feel like it was my fault, because it would be like, well, I know that I'm supposed to take his necklace off before he goes to bed. I know that I'm supposed to have his laundry put out before he gets in the shower. I know that I'm supposed to do these things, so if I didn't do them, that's why I was getting hit.
It's your fault, yeah.
Yeah, and it made sense because he was so freaking nice to me, and it was only when I was doing whatever he decided that day was not what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah. I know there's a poem. It's like he brought me flowers. I remember I would get flowers often. It was every time like he would cheat on me, like I'd find out every time he would hit me. The next day I would get the biggest bouquet of roses, candles. I would get something like a camera or just a gift, you know? He would buy me my favorite candy or whatever. Like the next day I knew, or he would take me on a date to the movies, or we'd go hiking, or we'd go, you know, somewhere I wanted to go for a long time. And yeah, like we had such great deep conversations. We'd watch whatever I wanted to watch. He'd do all these things. He was my hero. He was the one that would save me, like, from my parents. You know, he made sure he was always taking care of me. He was the only person that was proud of me. He thought so highly of me. And when you don't have that, like, growing up your whole life, and there's somebody that finally does that for you, Like, yeah, that's why you take, you take it, why you stay there. I mean, I got questioned a lot, like, all these horrible things happened to you. Why didn't you leave? Well, because amazing things happened to, he did amazing things to me as well. Yeah, it's crazy. You see that in the movies a lot, like, they hurt you and then they bring you flowers. That's exactly what would happen to me. And God, I'm a sucker for flowers. I love
I'm a
flowers.
sucker for
So, yeah, he knew exactly how to get me.
It's 'cause
My
they know.
I have a flower story, and it's my favorite. I don't know why I think it's so. Everything that I went through is just like funny to me now because it's like I just can't. I know that girl. I know that girl that was like, "Oh, this makes sense," and I get it, and he's not lying. He's whatever, and I get it because like that was literally how I was. So, but where I am now, I feel so far from it that when I think about it, it's just like, oh my heck, Sydney, like what? And I just have to laugh about it because I'm not a crier. I don't like it. So, but one of the things that it makes me laugh now because he used to get, and it was just so ridiculous. It was so ridiculous that I don't understand how I convinced myself that it made sense. But he shows up to my work, and I was like, "Hey, can you bring me?" All I asked for was a $2 McGriddle. That's all I wanted. I'm like, "Can you bring me a McGriddle?" It was $2-3, and I'm like, "You have my car. You're driving around. Like, you made me late for work. Bring me food. I'm hungry." And he shows up, and he's with my little brother. And I didn't want him hanging out with my little brother. I'm super, 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 super. I love my brothers. I'm like you. I love my brothers. Um, but I was like, dude, no, like leave my little brother alone, whatever. And he's like, well, I really want to hang out with him. No, no, no. I want to get to know your family. I don't know. Because my older younger brothers went to school with us, so they knew him. Um, and he was like, they're my friends, and I want your little brother to be my friend too. And I was like, okay, whatever, dude. And so they show up, and he's got flowers and a blanket and like just all this stuff. And I walk out, and I'm pissed, and my face, like,
Changed.
no, my face is very like it talks. It's very loud.
Okay. Yeah.
So all of a sudden it's just like death. You can just I felt my face like if he could have died with the look I gave him, it would have happened. I was so mad because he had just made me quit the job that I had been at for 2 years because the people that I worked with were like, Sydney, he's a horrible human being. Like, what the hell, dude? And so he made me quit. And so I got this new job, and he had already made me late and all these things, and like it was really, really hard to pay for two people when he was just blowing money on I don't even know what, and I'm assuming drugs now, but I'm like, how come I had $500 and now I have four? Like, I don't understand. Super weird. So I'm pissed because he shows up with huge bouquet of flowers. I think he spent almost $90 just on flowers and a blanket. And I was like, for what reason? Why would you do that? Well, I never bought flowers for anybody before, and you're the only girl that I've ever bought flowers for. And do you know how bad that hurt me? You're so ungrateful. And no, 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 no. And I'm like, you still haven't bought flowers, fool. I bought my damn flowers. What the hell are you talking about? I'm like, I'm pretty sure you took my debit card.
Yeah, I've heard stories, from other girls about like stuff that they've gone through, and I'm like, I don't know how you guys like were able to talk back and stuff. I always kept quiet, or if I said anything back, I was angry. I was just quiet, and I hardly talked back. I never said anything like to fuel the fire, because he was already so angry. I'm like, if I even talk back or say anything back, he'll kill me. And then,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
like I was so scared of him.
I'm not
So
gonna lie,
scared.
Floyd. I was drunk a lot. I drank a lot, and I'm not condoning. It was horrible.
Yeah.
I drank a lot to get through Like, I was drinking a lot. It was really, really bad. Like, I was drinking, like, a bottle of vodka, like, probably every 2 days. It wasn't good. And I was drunk a lot. And so he used to get mad because if I would drink, I'd get pissed off and I'd be like, I don't care. What are you going to do? You hit me already. Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? Hit me some more? And so I'd talk back. And so he'd get, like, if I drank, he'd get pissed. So then I drank more. And that's, it
Was he
wasn't the
bigger
best
than
I-
you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's another tactic that they use is like they prey on smaller women. I mean, I'm not a smaller woman, but when I was 18, I weighed 120, 130 pounds at most. I'm 5'5", he was 6'2", he weighed 300 pounds. So he was twice my height, or not height, size. He was twice my size. And I know Angelica, like
No, I was
Angelica.
I'm really
Tiny.
small. Yeah, I'm really small.
I wasn't. When we were together this last time, I think I weighed like 200 pounds. I wasn't. He was definitely skinnier than me, but he was taller and stronger and just like bigger and stuff. But yeah.
And I don't think whether we're bigger or not, there's no like comparison in the strength a man has to a woman. Because I remember only one time where I tried to raise my hand at him, I slapped him, and it did nothing to him. Nothing, absolutely. And that's when he came back at me tenfold. And I was like, I felt like a toothpick compared to a branch. And I was like, I will never put my hands on him because he'll kill me. He really can. And to this day, I'm like, I know whether they're smaller than me or not. Like, I feel like men's bones are just built different than ours, you know? And that's, yeah, don't ever go against a man.
I'm like, I only talk back when I drank, but other than that, I was super, like, just whatever, dude. Okay, I don't want to fight with you. Okay. And then, there was only one time, but we were, like, really, 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 really young when, like, I was probably, my dad still lived in the old house, so I was probably in, like, 8th grade, maybe, going into 8th grade, and he showed up at my dad's house, because my parents are split up, and he showed up at my dad's house, and I was like, dude, you're crazy. My dad will be pissed. Like, you need to not be here. Like, I don't do stuff to get in trouble at my dad's house. Like, you gotta go.
Yeah.
And he kept, like, yelling at me. He was mad because, there was some girl that he was talking to, and I was like, I don't know. I said something to her. I can't even remember what I said. But I started drama because he was cheating on me again. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to tell her. And so he was mad about that. And he showed up to my house and he was yelling. And that was the one time. And I hit him. I had a broom and I hit him in the leg because I was like, dude, like, he pushed his way through the door. He was in my dad's house and he was like screaming at me. And he wouldn't leave, and he wouldn't whatever. And I was in 7th grade. I maybe weighed 90 pounds, maybe 90. I was tiny, and he wouldn't leave, and he wouldn't leave. And I knew my dad was coming home, and my dad was a cop. And I'm like, dude. And I tried to be really nice. I was like, first of all, my dad's a policeman, and you're gonna get arrested. You need to get out of my house. Like, why? I don't understand how, like, you still think this is a good idea. And I was sweeping and I was cleaning because I was doing chores when he came over, and I had the broom in my hand and I hit him with the broom and I didn't even hit him like crazy. I was just like, dude, get the hell out of here. And I hit him with the broom, and then that was his I fueled that because he used to tell everybody all the time, she beats me, she hit me with the broom, she this, she that. And I'm like, first of all, sir, all of the times that you've hit me ever, and I hit you once when we were in 7th grade, and it was because of what you were doing.
Yeah, and they justify it.
And I'm like, I shouldn't have hit him. Like, I should have just called the cops or called my dad or whatever. But I didn't want him to get in trouble. And I'm like, can you just get out of my house? Like, I don't understand. And then that was a lot of the thing that he did too, was like the reactive abuse. He loved that. like if I didn't say anything and I just like flowed like how you said that you would just sit there and be compliant and whatever, it would piss him off to no end. Like if I was just like, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
my ex.
whatever.
Yeah, my ex too. Like, answer me, tell me, why are you upset? Like, he wanted me to be aggressive. He wanted me to be angry at
Yeah.
him and scream back. I never did, but that like fueled him. That would make him worse. You know, that's when he would attack physically. I
Well,
don't
and the
know.
fact that that like started in 7th grade blows me away. Like I look at my son who's in 6th grade.
Yeah.
You know, he's 11, and to think 7th grade and this
Yeah.
kid is already hitting
My daughter's in 7th grade.
on girls.
Yeah.
Like that's just
It's crazy.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he I'm not justifying, I'm not anything, I'm just, these are the facts. He had a horrible upbringing. Like
Yeah.
the stuff that he would talk, like, because we did, like, he was my best friend, so I know as much as he knows me, I know him. Like, I can, everything that's happened with this trial, I know him so well that I knew exactly what was going to happen when we showed up to court. I knew he wasn't going to show up. I knew he was going to go on the run. I predicted everything because I know him so well. Like, we've known each other since 1st grade. So the stuff that he told me, and I think that played a lot of it too, is because I felt so just,
he trusted you.
yeah. And I'm like, if he just had any type of love, like if he just genuinely felt any type of love, then maybe
Cared for.
like yeah, maybe, because I'm like, I can get that. I can see like where you have all this abuse and you've gone through all of these things. I can see where this would be normal, and maybe if I can show him like, dude, like there's so much better. Like there's so much better than what you're doing. Like I don't
that you
understand.
could save him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I feel like I definitely had a savior complex with that one, because I was like, if I could just show him that there's better. But honestly, when I think about it now, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as me, because it was so, this horrible life, all these bad choices, that's what he knows and that's what he was used to and that's what it was. And for me, I didn't say his name. For me, he was what I was used to. And so leaving that, I never wanted to. And so I can completely understand why, like, the horribleness and the evil that he's used to is what is comfortable to him. Because that evil that like we got used to, like being in those relationships, that was comfortable, and it was why we stayed so long, even though you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I ever thought, yeah, it's a good idea for me to get hit, because anytime my friend said anything about like, oh, he did this to me or he did this to me, like if they were in situations like I was, and that's the other thing that sucks too, is I was like, dude, you can't let them hit you, like no, because I really just didn't register that I was in the situation that I was in, because it was
Right.
just normal.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a reaction instead of like you were being abused.
Yeah. Because I really didn't think I was being abused. I was like, man, this is just how he is. It's
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
Well, and one time we went.
And you probably did justify it though, that at that time.
Oh, I totally did.
Yeah.
I totally did. But I think it was just such a habit at the time that I didn't even notice I was doing it.
Right. Yeah.
But there was one time we took him to Boise for his birthday, and we went with his cousin, and it was me, him, and his cousin. And by like the second night, she's like, dude, are you okay? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, seriously, dude, like, are you okay? Like, he is so horrible to you. And I was like, I was so confused. And I remember telling her, I'm like, what do you mean, dude? This is like the nicest he's been in months. Like, you're here and he's being so nice. I don't understand what you're talking about. And she's like, Sid, are you serious, dude? And I'm like, yeah, like what do you mean? This is an awesome trip. He's being great.
Yeah.
Like, and
She
she's
saw
like,
the
dude,
outside that you weren't
yeah,
seeing.
and she's like, it was like after I had left and stuff, she called, and when he was on the news and it was all like, hey, this is what happened, she was like, Sydney, I was scared for you, bro. Like, I was so scared for you. I had to stop. She's like, I didn't want to like leave you, but I know like you weren't gonna leave, but I had to stop talking to him because he is evil and I didn't know he was how he was, but I seen how he was with you and I haven't talked to him since.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you're able to walk away from that and that you're here. First
Me
of all,
too.
you know.
I'm glad you guys are too.
Yes. I'm excited to join you at Stop the Silence, ball this Friday, and can't wait to meet you in person.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I've been waiting. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I was supposed to come hang out with you guys at your event, and then I'm not gonna lie, guys, this has been a lot of work.
No,
You're
I
good.
bet it's a lot of preparation, but
But yeah, we do
Man.
appreciate you, Sydney, coming on, especially super last minute. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I hope I answered everything okay, and I had fun
Yeah.
talking to you guys.
yeah,
yes.
I'm glad you were here. I hope people hearing your story, my story, Angelica's story. I know it's scary and it's hard to talk about. Like I said, it brought on a lot of emotions again for me talking about it because it's been so long and I like blocked it out for so many years. But I want to let people know like it's okay to talk about it. I think it helps us to talk about it. It heals us, and also it makes people aware, that this isn't okay, that we shouldn't take this. It's not acceptable, and to teach our children to not be okay with it as well. So I want to emphasize on that. And hopefully more people join us. Like, this is a safe space for not just women, men too. Anybody that wants to come on and talk. You don't even have to be a victim. If you have some advice for us, or you just want to talk about an experience, that you know about, or you just want to come on and be part of this, we'd love to have you.
Absolutely.
We're gonna post on our page, Facebook, Instagram. When we're gonna do it. We have a really busy schedule.
Yeah, this week's busy, but we'll get better at
Yeah,
planning ahead of time. And
right. But yeah, we'd love to have you guys come on, and have you talk about whatever. Join us, and so we can grow this podcast.
Absolutely.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. I got hearing your stories. There's some stuff I got to deal with, and I really appreciate you guys having me. This was awesome.
Yes.
And I will
thank
see you
you.
at the ball.
Yay,
Yes.
see you Friday.
Soon. We'll
Bye.
See ya.
See you Friday. Bye.
It Begins With Us is supporting podcast for 1614 Revival Foundation.
Please leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever possible. That really helps the show reach more people.
You can follow us on social media. The links are in the show notes. Do not hesitate to reach out. See you next time.